What if Hawaii was actually a microcontinent? And this isn't just a bunch of random islands and land, this is an uplifted Hawaii. This is what it looks like under the surface. And it's borderline not even a microcontinent, it's getting pretty close to Australian territory. Look at these 3 long island chains that would all be meeting near Siberia. I wonder if Japan would have been more likely to colonize if this land formation was here, then they might have jumped off and grabbed California. We're actually only 5 kilometers away from making this a reality, boys. Elves, dwarfs, and Estonians, we're talking the largest minority groups in the Nordic region. So there's actually a lot of dark elves living in Iceland, but you can also find a lot of them in northern Finland and this part of Sweden. Of course, the Asgardians here in Stockholm, maybe Thor lives there. Ton of dwarves in the southern part of Finland, and then light elves in Norway and the southern part of Sweden. Actually, wait, no, I think the Estonians are here, and the dwarves are obviously in the mountains. Either way, is anyone even close to powerful enough to defeat those dang Estonians? So glad someone's logging this very important data. So I guess someone's YouTube app glitched out and made some very weird alternative universe. What if there was a continent in the Pacific would lead to clearly the decline of gaming? TNO Middle East custom super events compilation, the oil crisis. Wait, is that the Hawaiian microcontinent? And then finally, how a pro gamer successfully faked his death. This pro gamer, I guess, also became a author for a brief period. My plan. His plan to dominate esports, hopefully? I hope that's what his plan is. From painter to gamer. You think he moved to Argentina after he faked his death? Thank you so much for bringing us this comedic gold. What if the Italian peninsula was Balkanized? A very divided peninsula. 4 great powers, though. One in the north is the socialist state of Padania. We also have the kingdom of Piedmont, which borders France, assuming France isn't also Balkanized, I guess. We have a Roman Republic, which I guess existed for like 2,000 years. Hey, you know what? If San Marino did it somehow in our universe, then I guess anything is possible. And finally, the Republic of the 3 Seas. I would think the kingdom of Naples would be the 4th great power, but maybe they'll unify here. So since we have socialism in the peninsula, this can't be that far along in history. We also have random anarchy states, monarchies, republics, democratic areas. What a mess. And you know what? For Italy, this was mostly their history for a while there. Not this broken up, but after Rome, they had a tough time. Everyone else was like controlling this stuff. Looks like surrounding nations like Austria, Slovenia, and even Switzerland got stuff out of this though. A US State Department travel advisory map, and this is based off the most recent reported attacks as of the last 18 months. So vampires are obviously a very big problem for Romania. Steer very clear away unless you have garlic. The US State Department also ranks that in the 4th tier, saying do not travel. Germany's another place in red. They are advising you not to go here. They've got a bigger problem. They've got more issues with jinns or genies, especially in the northern half of the country. There are some werewolves here too, which might be coming out of the Alps, seeing that that's a problem for Switzerland. Ireland has a problem with witches, like sea witches. It says marine witches. Just realized we're not even gonna make a comment about that. Now, if you're depressed about not being able to travel to Europe, there are still countries that you can go to. Iberia seems to be safe for now, but they are surrounded. There's a lot of reported attacks. Poland and Ukraine is okay to go to. And Finland and Estonia, as long as you're okay with the scary Estonians. They're probably the only thing that can keep you safe though. You can travel to Italy, but you should reconsider. I guess the biggest issue is in the northern half. They haven't gotten deeper into the peninsula just yet. I feel like if anything, if there were actual reported attacks happening all throughout this continent, it might boost up tourism. People would love to see a genie or a werewolf. Kind of wish this was real life. Here is the North Atlantic seawall built in the 2030s. I remember when they started construction on this thing. Only took them like 50 years. Actually, the East Coast is a lot better at building things, I thought. Maybe they're better than the West Coast. Although they had problems in Boston with something too. So 2025, a dramatic depression hit the US. And then with rising sea levels, they had to do something. The project aimed to create various sea defenses to reduce the effects of rising sea levels. And the project actually helped the American economy recover. This map was actually designed with the knowledge of what the US would look like if there was 10 feet sea level rise. So as you can see, that would be a major problem for New England and all of the East Coast actually. Oh wow, especially for North Carolina. But it would impact no state more than Louisiana. Louisiana, it looks like they lost like 20% of their territory. Probably should have built that wall around here. I understand there's a lot of population up in this part of the US, so that's maybe why they focus on this area. 10 feet sea level rise doesn't seem to impact California too much, at least not compared to the rest. West Coast as a whole is actually weirdly okay. So they had to protect the Boston Bay here, just off Massachusetts. Seemed plausible. Definitely got to protect Manhattan, so there was the Great New York seawall as well. Seems convenient enough here in Delaware, just add that right across. And then finally the Chesapeake Bay area. Doesn't seem like any of these tasks would be too impossible. They are pretty long. Let's not get confused here. Those are some long construction sites sites. There's still a lot of land that gets lost even with these 4 massive walls being built. A language map of France if England won the 100 Years' War, which they obviously got pretty close at that time, so this could have actually been a thing. But do keep in mind the rulers and upper class of England had spoken mostly French, and I guess the English identity only really emerged after the English lost. So you might be surprised like me to find out that French has actually maybe even spread. They've spread to a lot of England and a lot of Ireland as well. This would be about 400 years later after the war had ended, by the way. There's still Celtic being spoken in Brittany, France. Is that even still called Brittany, France? Or I don't know. There's also a lot of Germanic still being spoken in the northern part of England. I'm also really interested in the neighboring countries, like Scotland isn't under control. Also, look at this thick Luxembourg. I think the Italian peninsula has once again become Balkanized. This is really unique. The Asian sphere of cooperation, 50 years from now. So of course we have Beijing, China leading this alliance. Is this supposed to be like an Asian EU? Of course they had to bring their buddies North Korea. They of course did not bring India. I'm assuming they're pretty big regional rivals still, but they brought over Pakistan and a lot of Central Asia. China regained the outer Manchukuo territory from Russia, partly because I don't think Russia exists in this universe. Yeah, it looks like Russia has collapsed completely into maybe 4 different states. So whatever this is, they're a part of this, the ASC, the ASC. They also have Indonesia and a lot of Southeast Asia. So this is a pretty formidable alliance, or whatever you want to call it. They also have a chunk of Antarctica. Naturally born life expectancy, 94 years, and they're actually just 9th in the world. I mean, this is 50 years from now, so I guess we can assume life expectancy would go up. Unemployment's just 6%, even though their population is 2.82 billion. That is crazy. Tencent is their largest company. Uh-oh. Man, this is just like 1984. Love when these maps get like a whole novel to come around with it to explain backstory and all the things that led up to this moment, because there's a lot of things you can kind of figure out, but this is definitely a good read. The Republic of Ireland, if sea level rose 90 meters, I think they need to change this to the archipelago of Ireland, because this isn't even like an island anymore. It's actually several islands. 90 meters and it just completely obliterates Ireland? I'm pretty sure there's a lot of places on Earth that would be completely destroyed with 90 meters sea level rise. Well, Belfast is still around, and a couple of other cities. I just want to know, does some of these islands go back and join the United Kingdom, or do they unite finally? 26 plus 6 equals 1? Or I don't know if that would be how it works anymore. One idea for the Irish is figure out exactly how the Dutch get rid of the sea. Playing these classics on the Game Boy. Hearts of Iron 4. And wait, is this the Hearts of Iron 4 mod? I love that this included 8-bit music. That was literally what I was looking for. Oh, it's 8-bit Hearts of Iron 4. I'd actually really be curious how this would work. That'd be so complicated. I mean, luckily the controls won't slow you down. You don't really need much more controls than this. Uh-oh. Germany has declared war. That's how your Game Boy explodes. I don't think it'd be able to handle the unit numbers. I literally thought this was a real life ad. What if the British Isles was as diverse in language as the Caucasus Mountain region is? And as you can see, it is extremely diverse in terms of the different languages they speak over there. I actually didn't even know it was this crazy. So that whole idea has been brought over to Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales. Of course, there is still a lot of Celtic languages, although the Celtic languages are like split up into different areas. There's Cornwall, Cornish, and all these different type of Welsh, Pictish. There's even this area with non-Indo-European language. How did that happen? Still has a lot of English being spoken, but it's just really not as widespread on this island. Oh, and this was the map that inspired the author to make this. I don't even want to begin to dive into that. Oh, there was even a language in there that he made up. The 9 ways to divide Mexico in the 1840s. So of course, let's start off with the basic, the one that we all kind of know, the US and Mexico, their borders like this. And there's a different treaty where they get a lot of Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, and like half of Texas. There's this one where they just get a little bit further up. This one where Mexico really wants to keep, is this like Colorado, Oklahoma? It's like barely any difference for this one. Ooh, there's probably the worst ending for Mexico. There's the ending where California keeps Baja California. Okay, what the hell is even that? A lot of different ways this could have gone. I wonder what other proposals there were after the US-Mexico war. The author brings up a good point here. This could have really changed the whole US Civil War, depending on how much extra land the South got out of this. Now I want to see an alternative history map with that in mind. A map of civilization if mermaids and mermen were real, not weird. Real. I'm just thinking of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. So of course, these sea creatures wouldn't live on land. They would be creating different civilizations out in the sea. So there's the Great North Union that they have somewhere in the North Pole. There's the Europod, and I know this area would be like, it's very low sea level, the North Sea. So they might be able to like pop their heads out and figure out what the humans are doing. The Central Gulf, they have to worry about hurricanes over here. Do hurricanes even affect mermaids? Has anyone ever asked a mermaid that before? Oh, also they'd be able to terrorize all the pirates in the Caribbean, which I know they typically, historically likely likes to do, right? Could temperatures even be survived out here near Antarctica? And their favorite civilization, the Great Asian Ocean Empire of United Mer. Look at this crazy map. Also, look at the Philippines. Why are they so large? I mean, again, this is one of those flat map projections where I guess they centered the globe around Antarctica. That's like their home base. There's actually several uncolonized lands or seas around here, especially the Pacific. I mean, it's so large. What do they eat? Is that why they're near the coastline and not deeper? Do they have to eat man flesh? This scenario is just getting more and more terrifying as I think about it. I don't think I want to live in this world. I'm good. Here's what that amazing projection is called. The worst ending for South Korea. In 2036, a very old Kim Jong-un unites the peninsula. North Korea won the Second Korean War and united in 2034. At the end of the Second Korean War, the North Koreans started introducing market reform in economy, which promoted a fast economic growth. They're not communists anymore, or just communists in name. The Russian Federation and People's Republic of China fight for influence in the DPRK. Oh, I wonder if they would actually do that. That's an interesting scenario. Maybe they start to be a little bit more like China. I mean, they gotta let Samsung and K-pop do their thing, right? Can't just shut it down. Also, what is Japan? I just want to know how this scenario played out. Did the US just let it fall? I don't think they'd let that happen. What a thoughtful scenario. The biggest state in the Pacific Southwest. Has the Southwest been balkanized? It looks like California has definitely lost some land. This is the Inland Empire, or the Mojave Desert, basically. That became its own state. Capital would be San Bernardino, largest city, Riverside, and there's about 5 million people that live out here. Biggest event of the year, of course, is Coachella. That's literally where the entire state goes wild. That would be like the equivalent of like Mardi Gras for Louisiana, right? Looks like this scenario just kind of broke California by the south, but then they made Los Angeles its own state and then Mojave its own state. Wait, and Cabrillo. It would be the 26th most populous state. That is crazy. It's a lot larger than I would have thought. What if the histories of India and China switched? So immediately I see that India now has Tibet. Also, India has stayed unified. They still have Burma, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Meanwhile, the Republic of China has their very own Pakistan in the Taoist Republic of... I'm not going to pronounce that. And then there's the equivalent to Bangladesh right here in this yellow nation. I just want to know how Sri Lanka or Taiwan in this universe became so powerful. How'd they get all this mainland stuff? Oh, there's even a Hong Kong and Macau. And big thanks to the patrons. My name's Joe Biden. I love being Joe Biden. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the Catfish. Drew's Argentinian Grandpa. Fatnuts.
aPhatNarwhal.
Barnsky W.
bringbackpolandball.
LuxembourgLover.
Cowboys83.
Jakov Bruney.
Marco Hindera.
Max Cooper.
Ortin
Philipp
5610.
RF.
Robert E.
RyeThePie.
The
Mexican 760.
Why am I doing this?
William the Conqueror. And Subar A. N.